Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you coming through, stopping by. Now I know that I'm doing a non-Wesley So game. Yes, I know. But you know, Wesley So is out of the Airthings Open. So it is the knockout, and there's 4 people left. And Daniil Dubov and Teimour Radjabov are 2 of those people. So if you are here from Russia, privyet to you. So that's hello in Russian. I appreciate you stopping by. And if you're from Azerbaijan, salam to you. That is hello in Azerbaijani. So I appreciate you guys stopping by, taking a look at my video. And as always, at the end of the video, I have the chess puzzles for you. So fear not. I have your chess tactics and puzzle fix. And as always, appreciate it very much. If appreciate my content, subscribe. Right there, below me. Appreciate it very much. Have 676 subscribers. And so, you know, I'm getting there. I'm walking. I'm getting there. I changed my chess legend, the great Yasser Sirawan. I have 2 people that I would love to meet ASAP in the chess world, and that is Viswanathan Anand and Yasser Sirawan. Grandfathers of chess. So, you know, they're just great big legends, big, huge chess figures, respected by all. And I also updated my my donations. I have my PayPal in there. I have the link in the description. So if you want to go ahead and show me some support, I appreciate it very much. But if you guys are ready, let's take a look and see what we have for this game. It's a good one. Bam. So we got E4. Make sure my thing is up here. Bam. So we got C5. So we have the Sicilian on the board. One of the most famous chess openings in all of history. We have knight to F3. Knight to C6. We have D4. Pawn takes D4. Knight takes D4. We have E5. So we started off with the open Sicilian. And now we have the Lowenthal variation. So we have E5. Knight to B5. We have D6. Have to make sure that we don't push A6 too soon. Because we're going to be seeing knight to D6 with check. And that, you know, it's not bad for black, but it's pretty good for white. So it gives white a nice little advantage there. So we see knight 1 to C3. Because as you guys see, both of these knights are on the B file. And so the problem is if you put simply knight B to C3, you still won't be specific enough and know which one moves. So knight 1 to C3. And so we see A6, knight to A3. We have B5, so knight to D5. We don't want that fork coming. Knight to F6, bishop to G5. So we have the Chelyabinsk variation, or Kalashnikov, of the, let me make sure here. Of the Sicilian defense. So we cover that with bishop to E7. And so in this position, there are really only 2 moves that make sense. And that is bishop takes F6, which is what was played in the game. And then there is also knight takes E7, you know, asking black if it wants to take with the queen or take with the knight. Both of them are actually very legitimate take backs. I actually had a game where I played a candidate master here in Texas at a tournament. And I won a pretty nice game after I went knight takes E7. They went queen takes E7 and I went C4. You can also go C3. We'll see that stuff here in the game. But like I said, in the game, we do have bishop takes F6. We see bishop takes F6. We see C3. Bishop to G5. We want to get the bishop off of this square because we do want to develop the queen somewhere. And we don't want the queen to be stuck down defending this thing. And we can't, you know, defending the bishop. And we can't afford for our structure to be damaged over here. Especially if we're castling over there. It's not good. So we have knight to C2. Rook to B8. We have H4. And then we have bishop to H6. Now, for those of you that are wondering, that is actually a clear pawn. For some reason, it's good for white. But I don't know, visually to me, it just looks kind of suspect because after bishop takes H4, you'd have G3 because there's not any like tempo gains you can get on the bishop. So the bishop will go back to e7. We'd see knight c to e3, castles, queen to h5, h6, and then we'd have a3. And I mean, you do have some, you do give up the pawn for some active play here on the h file, but h6 kind of stops all of that. So this is one of those pure computer situations where the computer's like, yeah, this is great. But you're just kind of, as a human, like, I don't understand. Like, why is it great? Because, I mean, in all honesty, to me, as white, this looks bad. It just looks like, you're just down a pawn. I don't really see the compensation. But I'm not Stockfish or Komodo or whatever, so, I'm going to think like a human. So like I said, we did have bishop to h6. We got bishop to e2, and we are actually in the novelty of the game. Bishop to e2 in this particular line has never been seen before. So it is super duper extra brand new. So we see castles. We see bishop to g4. A lot of times you can see g4 as well. Just kind of asking a question to this bishop, forcing a concession with g6. Which isn't bad when you have the, the dark square bishop on the boards too. So we have bishop to e6. We have king to f1. And so we have queen to d7. We have a bishop to f5. And so we see king to h8. So if we back up, I might have messed it up. Anyway, if we back up here, some of you guys might be wondering, well, doing your calculation, like, wait a minute. If I take bishop here, the pawn takes, I can just take back with the queen. Like, the knight is here, so I'm not worried about any check, family check situation. Let me get all those arrows off the board. Let me just take you into the variation, if that was the situation. Bishop would take, pawn would take, queen would take, and like I said before, you're not worried about knight check here, forking the king and the queen, because you do have this knight right here. But unfortunately, white actually has this move. And so they're taking advantage of the fact that this knight is undefended. And of course you can't take here because you're going to run into that check. So that is an unfortunate situation for black to actually be in. So even after e takes, you would not take back with the queen. You would have to make an alternate move. Not sure what that move would be. But like I said, we do have king to h8 because Radjabov saw that and he said, you know what, I'm not even doing any of that stuff. Let's play better. Yeah. Like, let's play better. Let's do better things. Okay, cool. So we have queen to h5. And we have bishop takes f5 now. And then after pawn takes f5, we have f6. Because like I said, we're not taking the well, of course we can't take the pawn now because the queen is there, but it's always an issue. So if we go back, there's two different variations I want you guys to look at. The first variation is something that seems kind of like obvious. You kind of thinking with the queen on h4, these pieces are right here. It looked like you should have a fork, right? Well, unfortunately you don't because the bishop is hanging. And then after you possibly take back with the pawn, you're going to run into knight to f6. And the problem is checking the queen. Well, excuse me. It's not checking the queen. It's attacking the queen, but it's also threatening checkmate here. So that's the problem with g6. It's kind of an artificial fork. And then after queen to h5, b4 was actually pretty strong for black. It was actually a really good variation that Radjabov actually missed. Point being, if knight c takes on b4, you have a5. And so the problem is, after knight takes c6, queen takes c6, you're going to have some problems here on this file. So you can possibly play b3, but then you're going to be dropping the c. After bishop takes, you're going to be dropping the c pawn. So that's not really where we want to be at. So like I said, we do have queen to h5. Bishop takes on f5, e takes f5, f6. So we have rook to d1. We got a5, rook to h3, rook b to e8. Now this looks really interesting for white. It's not bad. It's not horrible, but I mean, to a human's eyes, it looks kind of whack because I mean, you have this king right here, and you have, I guess it's not so horrible, but it just kind of seems like your king, it just has to be in danger or something. But I mean, he's not in danger. He's okay. He's living. Oops, went too fast. So we have rook h to d3, and we have e4. And if you want to go ahead and pause the video and try to guess and see what Daniil Dubov actually does, it seems like there's a tactic possibly in the position, but we'll get to the situation in a second. Like I said, if you want to go ahead and pause the video and see what white plays here, give you a couple seconds. Okay, cool. So it is the move that he played in the game, but it is actually a severe inaccuracy. It's not a legitimate sacrifice. So I'm giving you the answer. So the move that was played in the game is knight takes f6, and so knight takes f6 is not a legitimate sacrifice. It is something I'm not sure what Dubov was seeing in this, but after rook takes f6, rook takes d6. You actually have, so in the game, rook takes f5 was actually played, which does even things up considerably more. But the move was rook takes d6. And the whole main point of trying to do this is to trying to knock the queen away so that you can pick up this rook and just deliver checkmate. But after rook takes d6, the queen does not have to take back. They can retreat to queen to c8. And so after a3, you would see knight to e5, knight comes to d4, and then knight to c4, rook to c6, but the queen still doesn't have to capture, and the queen just is continuously sidestepping all of the threats that white is creating. So you've actually just like given away a piece. Now you have an extra pawn, you have 2 extra pawns, but you are down an entire piece, and the most important piece that you're down is this bishop. So the problem is this is a very open position and they have a bishop. So it's going to be really, really impossible almost for you to win as white, unless you're like a computer. Anyway, so let's go back. So the rook takes f5. And so we see rook takes c6. And then we have a nice little intermezzo move, a nice little in-betweener check. Rook takes f2 with check, king takes f2, and then queen takes c6. So everything is like dead even. We got a bishop for a knight. King to g1. We have b4. Pawn takes b4. Pawn takes b4. And then we have knight takes b4. And so we have queen to b6. Not hanging the knight because, you know, the queen has detached itself from the protection of this rook. So we see king to h1. Rook to f8. And we see a3. And a3 is starting a pretty bad downfall for, Dubov. It was suggested going knight to c2, which looks kind of weird, because I mean you're not protecting this b2 pawn, so it kind of seems like a3 kind of does that, but it allows, so e3 is what's played in the game. But if we back up here, it actually allows queen to f2, and you're having a lot of issues because after queen to g4, you have bishop to f4, and the king is stalemated, and you're just going to be trying to finagle it to where you back this bishop up and deliver checks here and try to checkmate with a nice little sacrifice. But like I said, we do have e3, which is still a pretty good move. It's just not as crushing as queen f2 would have been. And so we see queen to e5. We see queen to g6. We see knight to d5. We see queen to c2. We see rook to g1. We see queen to f2. Queen to e7. We see e2. Knight back to c3. So Dubov is holding on. I mean, he's playing okay, but, he's in a very, very bad position now. So we have bishop to g5, in which g5 was also possible. It was considerably better. This kind of just throws the bishop away. But we do have e1 equals a queen. And then so we see rook takes e1, queen takes e1 with check, and then we have king to h2. And also, too, would have pretty much been the same thing when you get to this position here. You could have also taken here. And force the king to take, and then the bishop or the pawn would have promoted, and then the king would have come up here. So as you can see, that's the same thing. So that was also an alternate move. And so we see h6. So we see queen to g3, queen to c1. We got queen to d6. We got rook to f1. Queen to d8 with check. We got king to h7. Queen to d3 with check. We have king back to h8. And we see knight to e4. And so we see rook to h1 with check. So we see king to g3. We got queen takes b2. So we're getting our material back here. And so we see queen to d8 with check, king to h7, queen to d3, trying to see if we can't get like a nice little discovery going on. Not there, there, or there. We're not going to let that happen because we have queen to e5. and then king comes to g4. So the king's looking extra out there. He's looking extra vulnerable. He's looking kind of scrumptious for the black pieces. So we see queen to e6 with check, king to f4, rook takes h4 with check, king to e3. We see rook to g4, and we see king to f3. But unfortunately, this causes a pretty horrible series of events. After queen to f5 with check, we see king to e3, trying to hold on to the knight. But then we see queen to f4 with check, forcing the king up if he wants to try to possibly defend the knight. And then we see queen to d6 with check because we are exploiting this pin. And no matter really what you do, it's in this position that Teimour Radjabov, or that Daniil Dubov, my fault, actually resigns the game. Because, I mean, it doesn't really matter what you do. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to move the king in one of these two directions. The most logical probably thing is to do this. And then after queen takes, king takes, and you're going to be picking up this pawn. And that's just a really, really horribly lost endgame. There's just not possibly a way to win this. So yeah, that is the game. Taking us to the puzzles. This was a puzzle I gave you guys last time, so we just run through the moves real quick. It was a clearance sacrifice. We see pawn takes f6, queen takes c2, so we're sacrificing the queen, but we're getting a lot in return. We see pawn takes g7. We see rook to g8. See knight to d4, attacking the queen. Queen comes to e4. Because as you see, the king is checkmated if the queen doesn't protect this file. But we do have rook a to e1, knight to c5, rook takes e4, knight takes e4, rook to e1, rook takes g7, and then rook takes e4 with check. And you are up just a crap ton of material. And your king is kind of running out of real estate here. So that's bad. Okay, going to the next one here. This is another clearance sacrifice. This is a significantly harder one. I didn't get the answer right, so don't feel bad if you got it wrong. But yeah, this is the one, so that is it, guys. I appreciate you stopping by, and I appreciate you a lot if you are from Russia or from Azerbaijan, and you stopped by and watched my video. Appreciate it very much, and I will see you guys in the next video. I appreciate it.